What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis coming to y'all with that quick analysis on this Saturday. I'm sorry I missed y'all yesterday, but I'm back and I got y'all my top five coach of the year candidates as the season is getting ready to turn into the playoffs. It's five coaches throughout the entire year that I believe have put their names out there as coach of the year. Number five, Steve Nash, and a lot of people call me crazy for putting him in this. Just because when you think about the best teams and the best coaches, you don't really think about Steve Nash because this is his first year. Plus, he didn't do too many things that was crazy. And people look at the fact that he has Kyrie, KD, and James Harden, but they didn't play that much together this entire season and haven't played together since February of this season and still is the number one seed in the East this season. You have to give credit to Steve Nash for being able to find ways to win games. I know he has superstar talent. I know they are probably the favorites to win the title, which they should be when healthy. But he has still found a way to balance out minutes, balance out lineups, take the challenge to try different lineups, incorporate a lot of talent. Because a lot of these teams, Eliza, Blake, LaMarcus Aldridge, James Harden, he had to integrate them into this team throughout the entire season. They add in this piece and this piece and this piece, and then this person goes down like Spencer Dinwiddie. Then he has to have Karis LeVert. Then he gets rid of Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, and all of them. Then he has to rebuild his whole bench and his entire starting lineup. And they have still been absolutely fantastic for a team that has been put together, thrown together, to be honest, and still be the number one team in the East with their star players missing or being injured majority of the season and not even being able to play well together because they haven't even played together enough. So I have to give Steve Nash more credit than everybody else because he still has done an amazing job for what he has been given. And I think he has been underrated. I know that he has some of the best assistant coaches, which really does help. I think people underrating his help that he probably gives from his assistant coaches in talent, but you still have to give him the credit because he's still putting it out, doing it, following it, listening, and that's part of becoming a great person and human, but also a great coach. You have to be able to listen, you have to be able to adapt, you have to be able to make the decisions, and you have to be able to get everybody on the same page when they out on the court and in the locker rooms and also outside of the game, and he has done that. So I'm going to give Steve Nash credit for that. Fourth, Doc Rivers. I give Doc Rivers a lot of credit because nobody looked at the Sixers as a team that could be number one in the East. A lot of people knew how great this team was as a duo. This team was going to be a lock for the playoffs. But they have exceeded expectations this year with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons missing time, but also Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid missing significant time. Joel Embiid has missed 20 games this year, and they have still been the second best team in the Eastern Conference and one of the best teams in the entire NBA. And they have had a lot of different lineup changes too. And he has found a way to get the best out of Danny Green, the best out of Seth Curry, the best out of Joel Embiid, the best defensive performances out of Ben Simmons, and some of his best play also. And he has found a way to balance out role players. He knows who to put them at, where to utilize them at, what lineups work for the team that he has, and they have exceeded what we have thought that they can do, and they have played together throughout the year, even though they have relying a lot on Joel Embiid. At one point, they couldn't win without him. Then they was able to start doing that also when Joel Embiid missed significant time. And guys like Tobias Harris having his most efficient season and has always played well with Doc Rivers and has continued that trend. You have to give credit to Doc Rivers for bringing out the best, putting people in the right roles, helping people understand their roles, and allowing people to play their game and be who they are, and also bring the best out of them, as a team, and bring the right winning culture around them and change a lot of these guys' mentalities. And they have bought in, they have loved them, they have accepted them, they have embraced them, and they have won a lot of games because of that. Number three, Tom Thibodeau. You have to give him more credit than all the other teams because he has less talent. We all believe that the Knicks would be in the lottery. We all believe that Julius Randle will be his last year with the Knicks, and they'll be replacing him with Obi Toppin. We all thought R.J. Barrett was probably going to be a quality role player at best, unless he will show signs years from now. They have developed. They have been a great defensive team. They have played together. They have stayed together. They haven't made any big significant roster moves, and they have continued to outcompete, outfight, and have really brought a lot of love and a lot of attention to New York. Even though you look at this team and you think that they don't have enough, or how is they doing it, they have done it all season. They have been a playoff team all season, and even has been able to get out of that eighth spot and probably even have, a top six seed in these. And nobody would have believed that, even the Knicks fans. And they have been loyal. They have rode for this team harder than anybody else. And even though we thought that they should give up, including this year coming into this season, they continue to stay with them and they continue to ride it out. And this team embodies hard work, blue collar, grinding, come at you in your face, and that's what they do. That's how they play. And this team and the city should be proud of them and the growth and the development of these young guys, really trying to make a name for themselves, having chips on their shoulders, being gave up on, or afterthoughts, or guys that are replaceable. They have stood together, played together, and overachieved this year. And having these guys buying in and going out there playing together is one thing, but doing it at a high level and winning more than what anybody would have thought, even still, you have to give them credit in Tom Thibodeau. I got to give Quin Snyder a little bit more credit because they have the number one record in the NBA for majority of the entire year until Donovan Mitchell went down, which is their leading scorer. And they also have one of the best defenses like every year in the Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. But this team has played way better than I thought. I like Utah coming into this year, but they have played unified. Had hitting threes, sharing the ball, relying on guys to step up consistently. They have a lot of role players, a lot of creators, and for some reason, it's just clicking. It's just rolling. It's just smooth. And this team is the epitome of team basketball. This is how team basketball is supposed to be played. This is how you are supposed to win without a superstar player. And they have done it the entire year. Even if they don't finish with the number one record in the NBA, it is still a major accomplishment to do what they have done throughout this entire year. And they can still be dangerous in the playoffs once Donovan Mitchell does come back. And for them to literally have the controversy, to literally have a divide coming into this year between Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, and for them to come together and play well together throughout the entire season and overperform and overachieve in what everybody believed that they can do. And for them to do this is amazing. And to even be rewarded with 3 All-Stars and a guy that was potentially Coach of the Year for what he has been able to help orchestrate to get it done on the court. You have to love Quin Snyder. I have always been a fan. I have always loved and respected him as a coach, and he proven that again this year. And I have to give it to Monty Williams. When you look at everything that I said about the Nets, the Knicks, the Sixers, the Jazz, the Suns is all of that. This team was already the number one team in the NBA before Devin Booker went down early in this season. And they have won and consistently stayed healthy, played by the rules, stayed away from COVID for the most part, played together, allowed their stars to embrace and embrace they talent amongst the league, having clutch shots and takeovers and comebacks and consistency throughout the entire year being so great, even though they have a lot of young teams with a lot of veterans that's still trying to prove themselves on both sides of the court. This team is absolutely fantastic. I know you can say that they was 8-0 last year before, but that was last year. This is a new season, a new challenge, and you have a new team still, even if you added in Chris Paul, who was an upgrade over Ricky Rubio, to be honest, and we all knew that. But for them to be the number one team in the NBA, the number one team in the West, I knew people that had them finishing at the bottom of the West. I knew people, well, not the bottom of the West, the bottom of the playoff spot. And for them to be so dominant the entire season is absolutely reality, because that's what they have done throughout the season. I love what they about. I love what they do. I love their two all stars, Devin Booker and Chris Paul. I love their role players. They hit shots, they make plays, they come at you, they play hard, and you know this team is one of the most well balanced rosters. Even the bench was known as an afterthought. They have played above what people thought. You look at Cameron Payne, a guy that people gave up on, and he's been playing well. Cameron Johnson has been playing well. And I can go on and on and on, even with Javon Carter and those guys. I love this team. This team is amazing. And people thought that Devin Booker was just a guy that put up good scoring numbers on a bad team. Now he's stepping up in big games. He's stepping up in big moments. Even though he has done it throughout his career, they're actually winning games to the point where they're the number one team in the NBA, to be exact. And it's just a good story for him to be a back-to-back All-Star, for him to be able to clinch a playoff spot since 2010 and play his entire season with his entire career with Phoenix, and to have it end up being like this when people thought he should get traded to Minnesota not that long ago, to grind it out and ride it out 1 more to 2 more years and get this type of team around him. We're still having Mikal and Aiden still a part of that nucleus now, and for them to possibly finish as the best team in the year, in the season, is just a blessing for him. I supported him, I loved him, I stayed by him, and I knew what he was capable of, and I knew what he could do because I seen it every night, even though they was losing. And to see him going through this, to see him doing this, is what he been doing. The only difference is they went in at a high level. Shout out to the Suns. Shout out to Monty Williams. People thought he was done. People didn't know what to expect when they brought him in. And for him to hold them accountable, for him to push them, for him to expect excellence and greatness from this Phoenix Suns team, and them to be able to go out there and believe in what he's teaching, believe in what he's trying to get across, and actually doing it on the court, you have to give him credit. Chris Paul has been a closer for the Thunder. He comes in with a little bit more talent than he had with the Thunder, and has brought exactly what we thought, an all-star, all-NBA player to me this season. And even though he's older, even though people thought he had one of the worst contracts, he proved the doubters and the non-believers wrong again by doing what Chris Paul does, dominate. Other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the rest of y'all day. Quin Basketball Analysis. I'm done.